Section 25 of The Diary of a Russian Lady. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Diary of a Russian Lady by Barbara Doukhovsky, Paris. When our train stopped at the Gare Saint-Lazare, we got a fiacre and drove to the Hôtel de la Paix, a large, ponderous edifice, one of the most stylish hotels in Paris. I waited in the cab whilst my husband went with inquiries for an apartment, hoping all the time that Sergei would not find one to his taste, for I hate these stiff and grand hotels. It turned out as I wanted. There was no room to our disposal, so we betook ourselves to the Hôtel de Calais, an unpretending house situated in one of the most elegant quarters. We spent a whole fortnight in Paris, which is a lively and beautiful city, the jolliest place in the universe. I was quite in raptures with the French metropolis and the numberless attractions it offers. I woke the next morning in high spirits, pleased with the idea of being in Paris. The street vendors and newsboys awoke me early, shouting each their wares. Here goes a woman wearing a hat with the inscription, "I shave dogs," who is leading a beautifully shaven poodle by the chain. The poor animal seems quite worn out, and lies down on the pavement at every 2 steps. I was overcome with pity for that unfortunate living advertisement, and felt still more sorry for a young woman turning a barrel organ with one hand and rocking her baby laid down in a sort of cradle with the other one. Though we are of a roving disposition and seldom remain long in one place, being always between 2 trains, in Paris we never thought of being dull, rushing about to theatres, concerts, etc. The weather was faultless. After the London fogs and damps, the sky appeared to be especially blue. In the afternoons I was out on shopping expeditions. The Grand Magasin du Louvre, so well described by Zola in his novel Au Bonheur des Dames, especially attracted me. Before their huge stalls one might idle away many pleasant hours. There are such wonderful occasions to be got, such lovely costumes which fitted me like a glove but cost a tremendous lot. I devoured them with greedy eyes. Sergei is awfully generous in money matters. There is nothing in the way of dress, jewels, luxury that I couldn't have if I wanted them. The instant I admired a dress or a hat, he would say, "You shall have it." Sergei is such a delightful husband. He is so good that I look on his shoulders every day for wings. One afternoon, between 2 fittings in one of the numerous dressing rooms in the Louvre, not much larger than a cupboard, I felt dreadfully fagged and entered the salon de lecture to rest a little. Turning over some French papers, I came upon a paragraph entitled Asia, and was awfully indignant to see that it contained recent news from St. Petersburg. Shall we ever be considered as Europeans, I wonder? Walking one day on the boulevards, our eyes fell upon an inscription in large gilded letters, Korechenko Magasin Russe. In one of its windows we saw a manifesto of the recent coronation of our Tsar, and were told that a Russian traveller had left that paper to be sold for 40 francs. The address of a Russian restaurant was given to us in that shop, to which we immediately proceeded, wanting to enjoy the different dishes of our national cookery, the foretaste of which was delicious to me. But a great deception awaited us. We didn't perceive any Russian element round about. The proprietor and all the waiters were all French. Noticing our disappointment, we were told that the cook was a Russian, and that was some comfort. We sat down at a table with a cloth that was not too clean, took up the menu card and studied it through. It appeared very copious and made my mouth water. But alas, all the dishes that were served to us, beginning by the famous schi, our national cabbage soup, with scanty bits of over-mature mutton, were horrid, and so was all the rest. we only lunched on a herring and a glass of milk. Hungry and cross, we directed our steps to a neighboring French restaurant, where this time the tasty menu did not deceive us. We then went to the Jardin des Plantes, visiting in the first place the part of the gardens where the useful plants of the whole world are exposed. Amongst them we saw our native sunflowers, at the sight of which a sudden pang of homesickness came over me. I was beginning to pine already for my dear old country, for my motto is, and always will be, "There's no place like home." Life is so much more open and free in our alma mater. It is true that every piece of ground is cultivated abroad, but one feels restraint in everything here, and everywhere one meets with peremptory orders to keep off the grass, and with placards saying, "Do not walk here, do not touch that." This restraint is especially felt by myself, who am so fond of freedom and space. We just ran through the Mineralogical Museum, close to which grows a gum tree planted in 1636, and then entered the Monkey Pavilion, where the fathers and mothers of mankind, according to Darwin, performed all sorts of tricks and gambols, obtaining a great amount of laughter. Amongst other curiosities of the Jardin des Plantes, we saw a white sheep with 2 black heads and a calf with 5 legs. In a separate pavilion is shown the skeleton of an enormous whale caught in the waters of the Seine in 1847. I had a ride on the elephant and felt rather frightened to be perched so high up on the back of the great beast. I had also a ride in a car drawn by an ostrich. Before starting, I asked the conductor laughingly if his bird would not fly away up in the air with me. It was tremendous great fun. We returned to our hotel for dinner, and then went out for a drive in the Bois, full of carriages, horsemen, and pedestrians. In one of the remotest parts of the park, a merry band of collegians were playing football, whilst their tutors, black-robed curés, rested under the trees. On our way we passed the École de Médecine, on the front of which is an inscription saying Liberté, Fraternité, Égalité, and just below some passer-by had written with a bit of coal, Vive Henri V, the Duke of Chambord, meaning quite the reverse of these 3 words and propagating monarchy. The next day being Sunday, we went to hear Mass at the Russian church. The singing was beautiful, but our priest, with his hair cut short, did not at all harmonize with the rest of the orthodox surroundings. After lunch, we had a nice trip by boat to Saint-Cloud. We had lunch there at a small inn over the entrance door of which we read with eager eyes, "Lait frais," fresh milk. A simpering, red-armed and rosy-cheeked servant girl in a pink print dress appeared wiping her hands in her blue apron. She spread a brown cloth upon a table standing in a green harbor under a big walnut tree, and served us a frugal repast consisting of milk and eggs. A few steps from us stood a pair of scales with a placard saying, "Come and see how much you weigh before and after dinner," serving surely as a catchword to this inn, as over the door there was a painted hand pointing to the scales. After our cozy meal, we walked gaily through the grounds of Saint-Cloud, enjoying our walk as 2 big school-children out for a holiday. On our return to Paris, we were not yet too tired to go to the Musée Grévin, where we made a long halt before a group of wax figures representing the coronation of our emperor. All the personages were unrecognizable. The cadets from the Corps de Page were arrayed in costumes dating from the time of Louis XV. Another group also represented a Russian scene, the capture of a band of anarchists at work in a secret printing office, in which it was the police agents who looked like villains and the anarchists like innocent victims. It interested me greatly to listen to the opinions of the passers-by upon this group. They made such funny comments. Not wanting to disclose my nationality, the idea came to me to give myself out for an Englishwoman, and I asked Sergei, who didn't speak English fluently, to answer only in the negative or the affirmative to all I should say, and catching his eye, I passed a signal, making him understand he was to say yes or no. He acted his part fairly well, and 2 French ladies were taken in. They endeavored to make me understand the meaning of the criminal printing office, and one of them said to me in the very worst English, "This scene takes place in Russia. Here is the Russian God," pointing out to an icon of St. Nicholas hung in the corner of the printing office. Then this well-informed person, wanting to flatter my national pride, added that this museum could not be compared to Madame Tussaud's waxwork figures in London. Our stay in Paris was drawing to a close. It was with much regret that we had to bring our delightful visit to an end. As we had plenty of time to spare before the beginning of the Italian manoeuvres, it was settled we were to go first to Switzerland. The number of our trunks having considerably increased during our stay in Paris, we decided to cut down our luggage to the minimum and left our big boxes to go straight on to Moscow through a transport office. The chief of this office, a fat little Jew, put himself quite at my disposal and proposed to forward to me in the future all the nouveautés appearing in the Paris shops for all the seasons through his office. End of section 25. Read by Henry K. Noble in Falls Church, Virginia, September 1st, 2024.